Yes, I was. This is part two of my discussion here with my friend in terms of artificial intelligence. First of all, we've been able to debunk the fact that artificial intelligence (AI) is forever gonna stay with us, whether we like it or not, and we have nothing that we can do about it. If anything, we have to do everything about it because it's not an enemy, like my friend just explained. It's here to ease and make things better, but in doing so, perhaps there will be some kind of ejection in terms of survival for the fittest. Those who are able to catch up with the race will survive. Those who are not able to catch up with the race will definitely be, somehow left behind, and that, in the true sense of the word, left behind, because these machines have been fed with information, yes, to help us, but they deal with certain challenges in our lives. The danger with that is that they can be biased in the sense that whoever is feeding them this information may feed them the wrong information. And I'm seeing instances where we're likely to have artificial intelligence that is biased, maybe by color, maybe by tribe, maybe by language also. And that's the danger with that. Although it's going to help us substitute a number of things, make things easy, I think that realm is on us, and we have nothing we can do about it. And it's good, even for the lawyers. Perhaps the biggest conservative profession is lawyerism, and that's maybe where they find the problem. But we're already seeing instances where we rightly argued that we shall see these machines perhaps even representing clients, because human beings have a pattern, they flow. Everything about us in terms of anatomy, in terms of DNA, flows by way of a pattern. I can know your behavior. Psychologists can do that. They can know that, and can even predict because they have studied the pattern. So that's how these machines are fed with patterns. Now, we were able to understand that, number one, they are there for us. Number two, they are only limited to the amount of information that is fed there, although they are fed by different people. So it's absolutely possible that they will outwit an individual, because of the so much information that comes from different geniuses, if you like. Then number three is that they will have emotions at a certain time. The emotions will come in because, again, emotions also a question of pattern reading. You can know anxieties, you can know depressions, and they can be able. We gave examples of movies like iRobot, where robots were even asking people who are depressed, I feel like you're depressed, or I sense anger in your voice. Because, again, this is a pattern that can be read and predicted. There's no doubt about that. The third question that I wanted to ask, which itches me, is there a possibility that these machines will have a soul? And that's the question I was asking.
Yeah, interesting. So going back to the earlier conversation I hinted about a little bit, about the Google engineer, Blake. He was called Blake. He had been training he was working with this particular chatbot. It's a model to do with dialogue applications, LAMDA, by Google. So this guy was testing it, and he became a little bit afraid because it had started exhibiting a certain idea of emotional intelligence. And he said that actually, if he was not aware that this was actually a robot that Google was working on, he would have taken it to be like an 8-year-old physics student that understands a lot.
Wow.
Because of the way it was responding. So he asked it a question that, are you afraid? What are you afraid of? And it actually answered that it is afraid of being switched off to help others. And that's reminiscent of a certain robot in a certain movie. That robot was called HAL 9000. I think it's a movie. It's a science fiction movie. I don't recall exactly the title, but this particular robot rebelled from its owners under the fear that it was actually going to be switched off.
Wow.
So perception and the ability of machines to process information at a very high speed, to predict the likelihood of things, I think it is it is of course very high because, like you've highlighted, it is fed by information from many super geniuses. Now, the good news is that for now, human beings or humanly networked processes control the infrastructure through which artificial intelligence operates. So it is for the foreseeable future, it is hard to see a time when machines are going to take over the world because all the infrastructure through which they operate is coordinated, networked, managed, and controlled by humans. So it would be just a matter of the machines running out of battery or switching them off from their source of power in case anything like that threatens to happen. But the question of as to whether they will be able to build particular energy reserves, that is also probably a discussion of energy maintenance. We've seen a particular animal species able to survive for years without eating anything. But of course it has not been so successful in human application, replicating that in a few things that we have created. So the ability therefore of AI to possess a soul is highly unlikely in my opinion. I am not a grandfather of ideas, but it's unlikely in an opinion because a soul goes the functions of a soul go beyond just the exhibition of emotions and a few things to do with perception. You are dealing with a more complex thing. The ability machines have a neural network just like we also have neurons in our minds. But with the ability of us to possess a conscience, our ability to possess feelings in diverse ways across touch, taste, smell, because pain. Because AI cannot now start lying to us that it is feeling pain because it does not relate to the reality of the human being. And also in the grand scheme of things, I would state that I believe that souls are created by God. Anyway, let me stop it at that because we might go into metaphysical discussions.
So the beauty about it is that the comfort that I get from this discussion is that I think we should welcome AI with open hands. The challenge it's going to pose for us is that we are going to compete with the best of the best. And that's when, by way of natural selection or call it physical selection or whatever, those who are not performing as good as the other will be, degenerated in a way. And then the issue of emotions, as I said, yes, that is predictable, that can be captured. But the issue of a soul, perhaps what would now make the completion of a human being, like in terms of life, is something that these machines may never have, however good scientists we may be. I don't think even Albert Einstein could have envisaged that. So perhaps that's the better part of it, because there's this argument that if we give them leeway, then time is going to come when they will rebel against us because of the many movies that perhaps we have watched. But you rightly say that perhaps there are still these control centers where people are controlling. But I also, I know for a fact that even these robots can actually control. Right now in forex trading, I'm sure you know about forex trading. I'm told people simply just go now and buy those computers and with robots, and they do the forex trading for them. And they can detect and know that this is a bad day and we're going to trade. And they make millions of money for the individual, but again,
they base on particular parameters. To know that this is the bad day. Machines are simply trained to become intelligent. That's why we call it partly artificial intelligence. That you feed them with particular parameters. You establish lots of different layers. across which they are going to be wise. So when you tell them that, like if things look like this in the market, then do not trade. They will not overtrade.
They'll act on that pattern.
Because there are factors that influence the stock exchange market.
Yes.
And the experts that have trained these particular computers have extensively studied these particular parameters, and they have fed the system with all those lots of information. Now, the stock exchange trading is a very complex idea, and I think that is why you are not going to hear that those machines are always right.
True.
Because in the past I've seen calculative guys like Warren Buffett, a guy who started investing money in his early ages. He has invested a lot, he has traded a lot, but there are also opportunities he didn't invest in at the first sight. Like I've seen stories where he didn't invest in Amazon at the start. So strategy, even the best of the best, can sometimes not see it coming.
Yes.
And neither do machines guarantee that particular accuracy.
Good conclusion, good analysis. I'm grateful that we have tackled perhaps the most serious issues that would be around machines. Perhaps it's best concluded this way, that the maker of the universe, God Almighty, has embedded us with these natural gifts, and is the only person, I think, who has that privity and exclusivity of creating an entity. God, the maker of all things, is perhaps the only person who has the exclusivity and the uniqueness of creating an entity that is human in nature, and perhaps has feelings, emotions, has a body, has a spirit, and has a soul. So I know that the emotions can be replicated by artificial intelligence. The actions, behaviors, patterns can be replicated, but things like emotion, like souls and spirituality, may never be part of those machines. And perhaps that's the comfort that strong believers should not fear. That, man, we're gonna lose the world. We have to fight this AI. We have to, because it's perhaps a duplication of the Antichrist, or they'll give it every kind of name. So the beauty about it is that even at its best, it is limited, and it can only do as much as what it has been commanded to do. And it relies on a pattern, and that pattern is predictable. And I'm sure if something goes wrong, then it will not be able to perform to its best, because then at the end of the day, like we said, computers, it's a question of garbage in, garbage out. What, in conclusion, would you advise the young generation today in terms of artificial intelligence?
So I think that the transition is here. I think COVID-19 tested the resilience of our social and economic structures. And more than any other recent crisis in the past, it shed light on the need for human beings to remain connected to their loved ones, to their families, to their communities, to their local businesses, and to their clients. So these things have become highly necessary and highly clear to us. So to the young people that are in business, for example, like lawyers, I think it is highly, this is a time we started to understand that the transition is here. It is not going to wait for anyone, because those that have access to these tools are performing at a very high work rate.
True.
Their results are high than those that are otherwise soaked up in the traditional methods of business operation.
True.
Nevertheless, I hinted on earlier that this can actually create very unique value propositions from lawyers. Because just like the example I was giving about music production. Yes. This is not like we're saying that the average lawyer is actually going to be eliminated, but we should also look at the unique value propositions that can be created by the justice law and other sector. In that regard, if we embraced technology, maybe not at the center of our operations, but to complement those particular operations. The idea that a lawyer can save time is very impressive. Time is the new luxury. And even during COVID, when people felt they had a lot of it, they thought a lot on how to better prioritize it in the future.
Absolutely.
So to be efficient, that is why for me I personally believe in automation for fast and efficient service delivery. There's got to be a certain level of automation, repetitive tasks. You get you get a system that can do that accurately for you. You enhance your creativity. You enhance your brilliance by seeing what you can do differently from machines. So artificial intelligence is not an abstract concept of the future. You know, sometimes like when you meet people, they're like, oh, you guys are in AI, you are in the future. This is the present. And everybody, artificial intelligence has been simplified to the extent that anybody can take part. So, for example, ChatGPT by OpenAI is too simple. That is more into conversational AI. But there are other facets of AI that people just need to get aware about, study a few things about. For example, if you're a law firm and you don't even need like sophisticated tools. You want to know what people are thinking about a particular case that is being discussed in the public. For example, there is Vantage versus this one, there is this one versus this one, and you just want to know the opinions of what is happening. There are a lot of possibilities for that to be done. You know, like you simply build a system on social media that can track. Okay, you don't even need to build. There are platforms like Twint that can give you access, your mind information from that particular social media platform. You get insights on how people are thinking, and that is buyer intelligence. When you come to, let's say, offer presentation, value proposition presentation, AI has already simplified for you how people think so that you can better target them. So this is not applicable only to law firms, but the simplification of research, the simplification of consumer behavior analysis has been done by technology. So people should really embrace technology. It should not be an abstract concept like when you go in a conference and this looks like future, what? This is something that is already happening. People just need to take successive steps of incorporating it into their value architecture maps. It's a question of adoption, but it's also a question of productivity. How your work works is actually going to change. So that will save law firms, because law firms, lawyers, I think partly what they're afraid of is relying more on technology, yet their domain is the law. That shouldn't be the worry. The worry is to maintain your domain under the complement, the enablement of technology.
Absolutely.
So once you do that, we are going to see solutions like the one you created. We are going to see the law being positioned in the hands of people. So imagine a world in which people have an online lawyer that never sleeps. Imagine a world in which people can have access to legal information in their pockets. Such a world is what we envision as justice bot. But such a world can also be created by every actor in the justice law and other sector. Because the law is too broad for us to start looking at ourselves as competitors. All of us are the same actors working towards the same problems of our social contract, social construct, society, and all of us can have a meaningful contribution with the use of technology to such a society.
Excellently said. So I thank you, my brother, for that wonderful discourse. We have 2 parts, I think 3 parts basically of this discussion. We will be able to share it so that people can get a broad understanding of what AI can do for you, and AI should be embraced as a friend, not as an enemy or adversary. It's a complementer in terms of making you perform better for your services. I know it has its disadvantages. We have already talked about a little bit of those in terms of its limitations, so what has been fed in, its likelihood bias because of still the people who are feeding the information, and then the fact that it is a machine at the end of the day. You know, probably a battery will run out, or maybe an virus. I mean, people may even actually hack and change. And so those are possibilities of cybersecurity, hacking likes, and which are likely to happen. I was watching a movie called Intelligence, where this individual is the first individual to have a microchip planted in his brain, because his body was, could accept to deal with that foreign entity in the brain. And this chip was actually was linked to the grid, what they call a cyber grid, which controls almost all cyber information in America. So he was able, the fact that most of those countries have almost everyone, their databases are somewhere centralized. This individual could look at you and, by mere looking at you, could penetrate into you and get to know the information, what you do, how many crimes you've committed, what you're thinking about, what you did yesterday, because of that cyber chip that has been planted and the fact that this is centralized. These things look like far-fetched stories, but they're going to be reality tomorrow. And I think probably that's the reason why even this COVID challenge, the COVID issue, sometimes we looked at it as a threat, perhaps as something that people like the Bill Gates and the likes had come up because they wanted to put a computer in everyone's home. And how best would they do that? Perhaps by putting a chip in somebody's body. We're talking about things to do with 5G technology, by the way. 5G is also on the door, where microchips are going to be put in your hands, and if I make a phone call to you, your hand will vibrate, and the best you do is simply put the hand on your mouth and then you talk back to me. I've seen those adverts run. I don't know if many of you have seen some of the things. So
Metaverse.
Yes, you say what?
Metaverse.
So you see, that's a challenge that we're having. So we know that this is a reality, and the faster we embrace it, the better. We cannot fight it. It's only coming for the good. It has shortcomings just like anything, but that is part of perhaps the giftings that God has endowed on man to go and conquer and subdue the earth. With those few words, I'd like to thank you, sir. Once again, you can tell us your name and where you are for the record.
Yeah, thank you so much for this interview. My name is Katende Chonan, just a chatbot limited.
Excellent. And if someone wants to find you, where would they find you?
So if you want to find me, they can find me at the Innovation Village, Block C, Level 3.
Okay.
Or they can contact me on my email.
Okay.
That's jkatende at JusticeBot. JusticeBot is justicebot.org.
Okay.
Or they can reach out to me on my number.
Yes.
Contacts.
Yes. Excellent. So thank you so much, sir, Mr. Katende. It's been an honor and a pleasure to meet you. We've met at the Legal Tech Law Week, so we have had an interesting discussion. We'll definitely talk a little bit more as time prevails. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure. Welcome.